Gentlelady from Arizona, Ms. McSally.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, gentlemen, for your testimony today. As was noted, the average port of entry, land port of entry, is 40 years old. The one in the city of Douglas, Arizona, is 82 years old, built in 1933, renovated 22 years ago, but still it's pretty old, and it really needs to be updated. 64,000 commercial trucks in 2014, $4 billion worth of trade, a total of 8.3 million people in two-way traffic, and it's expected to continue to grow at 5%. In 2007, GSA determined through a feasibility study there is needed expansion at the Douglas Port of Entry, and the Arizona Department of Transportation in 2013 determined that the existing Douglas Port of Entry will not adequately allow CBP to do its mission there. So we need a new port of entry in Douglas, and I know in 2003, GSA and CBP worked together to come up with a multi-year program for modernizing our land ports of entry. I know there's the $4 billion gap, but how many projects have been done on that list, and how did you prioritize that list?
Prioritization of projects, GSA responds to CBP's 5-year plan surrounding land ports of entry. CBP obviously can speak to the actual mechanics of that plan, but it focuses on the age of the facility, the usage of the facility, and the future out-year plans for that facility. GSA's goal is to, again, respond to CBP's need, but ensure the facilities we construct are adequate for their mission needs.
So, Commissioner Wagner, where is the Douglas Port of Entry on that list right now?
I will have to check and get back to you, but I know we're looking at the list this past year. We're reprioritizing the list. We go through a structured evaluation looking at the operational considerations, the workload projected growth, the age of the facility, condition of the facility. Can we operate our technology in the space and the requirements that's there? So it's a big portfolio to go through, but it's prioritizing into a 5-year plan.
Great. We really like to see where Douglas is on that list.
Yes.
And the best case scenario, we would obviously like to see appropriated funds used as a high priority to build a new port of entry there for the benefits that were all mentioned here today, for the increased opportunities for security. But this little town is dependent on this port as well. I mean, this is a small rural town, and it's dependent on that cross-border trade. And it not being able to really wait any longer, it tried to figure out a way to use this new 559 to come up with a program, and literally this town is willing to mortgage its future with tens of millions of dollars to invest in the land and invest in the infrastructure in order to make this happen. But it didn't meet the narrow definition, and it was rejected because it didn't meet the narrow definition of the current P3 partnership. What else can we do, and what else can the town of Douglas do, and what can we do when they are willing to do everything it takes and mortgage through a bond program their future to build a new port of entry? What other authorities and how can we adjust this program so that we can move forward and get this thing done?
Specifically towards the donation that was proposed for the city by the city of Douglas.
No, I know I was rejected, but I'm looking forward. What do we need to do to get it done?
I think that the key issue would be that it would be a true donation to the government, and there would not be out-year costs that would affect either the budgets of CBP or GSA. To be a true donation.
Okay, is there a way that we could modify the program? Because you currently pay leases for land in other places, right?
That's
and they were simply asking for a very modest amount of money to be leased back, as again this city is willing to, invest significantly. Is there not a way for us to modify this program that even allows for those leases? Because you currently lease land in other places.
Under the terms of the 559 program, it needs to be a true donation. So
the current program, but we're the Congress, so we can adjust things. So if we were to adjust that and change that legislative authority, is that something that would maybe increase opportunities across the country and also the Douglas Port of Entry?
The concern GSA would have regarding a donation surrounding a lease program would be that the donation may not be, again, a true donation. The primary issue, the concern that we have is that if something is a donation, it is quote-unquote free to the government. Yeah. If it is a donation without your costs, that is a concern to GSA.
Are you guys willing to sit down with us and Douglas to try and figure out a way forward on this? I mean, we got to be innovative, and whether that includes changes in legislative authorities. I mean, we've got a willing partner here, and we've got to figure out how to get this done. So are you willing to sit down with us and do that?
GSA is always willing to sit down with members of the border community to discuss this particular topic or any other topic your office or other offices may have.
Yes, I would agree as well for CBP.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the manning situation, you referenced that you're still 800 short. My first bill signed into law a couple weeks ago, the Border Jobs for Veterans Act, is directing you guys to streamline actively recruiting veterans, streamlining their background clearances. This is a win-win situation. I'd like to know how quickly you're going to be able to implement that, and what other barriers are there? Somebody mentioned after that bill that you have an age limit of 37, so if somebody retires after 20 years of service, they actually are not eligible. Sure, a retired master sergeant is still pretty able-bodied and might be able to be, a good asset in those positions. I've also heard that the polygraphs being, across the board versus potentially case by case, or the drug use in the last 3 years, not being it's being a one size fits all versus looking at a case by case. Are there any other barriers that need to be lifted in order to fill your positions? And I know I'm over my time, so if you can answer quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we're fully supportive of the Jobs Act, the bill you referenced. I'll be meeting with senior DOD officials tomorrow.
Great.
To start to work on that. We're highly supportive of that. I'm very confident we could find 800 veterans that can fit our requirements and we can get them into these positions.
Exactly.
So thank you for supporting that and really pushing us in DOD to come to the table and work that out. And the reciprocity is a big thing, like you mentioned.
Okay, great. And we can follow up later for the record if any of those other limitations I mentioned, or I don't know if those are internal policy issues or statutory, but we want to do what we can in order to streamline getting good people into these jobs because of the impact it's having on our security and our economy. So thanks for your time. Thank you, Madam Chair. You go back.